countdown to debate night. In a matter of days, the two candidates for lieutenant governor will go head-to-head in a debate hosted by PIX11. Democrat Dr. Dale Caldwell.
You can either stand on the sidelines and complain, or you can jump right in.
And Republican Jim Gannon.
When you're a walking cop, you learn how to treat people. You learn what's important to people out there.
Today, the woman who currently holds that position, Lieutenant Governor Tahesa Way, goes on the record. In another high-profile race in New Jersey, Jersey's city mayor, former Governor Jim McGreevey, hopes to return to public office. He's back on PIX on Politics as the race enters the home stretch. Plus, accusations of bribery.
They all think that everybody has a price.
It offends me in that these people think they know better than New Yorkers.
Another wild week on the campaign trail in New York City. PIX on Politics starts right now.
This is PIX on Politics with Dan Manarino.
And welcome to PIX on Politics, everybody. I am Dan Manarino. And can you believe it? Less than 40 days until the election. And it's no exaggeration that the race for New Jersey governor is about as tight as it could be. In fact, take a look right here at the recent exclusive polling from PIX11, The Hill, and Emerson College. The race so close, we're actually down to a decimal point difference. And we don't typically use decimal points, but we wanted to actually show you just how close this actually is. Democrat Mikey Sherrill, less than half a point ahead of Republican Jack Ciattarelli. A virtual tie when you look at those numbers, right? And another point of note, with early voting starting in less than a month, nearly 11% of voters, that bottom number right there, remain undecided. In just a few days from now, PIX11 will host a debate between the candidates for lieutenant governor. Democrat Dale Caldwell, Republican James Gannon will go head-to-head on stage at Kean University. One of these candidates will take on a role that many are not familiar with. So today, we're helping you understand that very role. The current New Jersey Lieutenant Governor, Tahesa Way, joins me to discuss the role of being second in command. She is going on the record. And Lieutenant Governor Way is joining me now. So great to have you here on PIX on Politics. Good to see you.
Good to see you, and thanks for having me, Dan.
So let me get right into it, right? Because you assumed the role of the lieutenant governor just over 2 years ago in September of 2023. You're also serving as the Secretary of State, which is a position you've held since the start of Governor Murphy's administration. So as we gear up for this big debate next week, right, for those who will succeed you, what exactly is the main responsibility of a lieutenant governor?
Well, that's an important question because this is indeed an important role. You mentioned the lieutenant governor serves as second in command, but for me, in partnership with Governor Murphy, we advance our shared mission of creating that stronger and fairer New Jersey. And when the governor is unavailable temporarily, I step in as acting governor. I also represent the administration across the state and even around the world, building bridges, advancing policy with our leaders, businesses, organizations, and constituents. For example, you know, the governor, he was just away on an important economic mission. And I had some good meetings, one of which was with the Belgian Minister of Justice, discussing efforts to combat transnational organized crime and human trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, that is something that New Jerseyans, I guess, are the most familiar with, right? Is that the acting governor, and we saw this play out in New Jersey. The lieutenant governor fills in as the acting governor and could potentially become the governor if something were to happen to the governor, like it very much did in New York. So it is a real possibility that that could happen. What would you say is the biggest challenge in the role of being lieutenant governor?
Oh, you know, the only challenge that I see is I have one state phone, and at times I get my Secretary of State emails and messages, but then I get my lieutenant governor emails and messages. But I would actually not call it challenging. I just think that having the dual roles, and especially as being lieutenant governor, you get to make meaningful impact. You get to expand upon your governor's vision for this state. I know that throughout my tenure, I've had the honor to sign significant legislation, one of which I did as acting governor recently, dealing with the notice and testing requirements of lead to protect our tenants and also their families.
You know, Lieutenant Governor, so much of what we're seeing play out right now in New Jersey and beyond is a country that is deeply divided. And do you foresee that as a challenge for the next administration, the next lieutenant governor?
Well, I can't directly speak on what each candidate, if they assume the role of lieutenant governor, will face and will do. Of course, I've been in public service, Dan, for about 20 years. Don't age me for that. 20. And so, some of the major focus have always been affordability, taxes, and of course, public safety. But the one thing, which is the common denominator of all, the important question that everyone needs to ask, in my humble opinion, is what is the best for the 9.5 million residents of New Jersey, bringing people together and putting the great people of New Jersey first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a New Jersey resident, and I hear a lot from folks every single day, right? Just going to the supermarket, I get an earful. And we've done some polling, Lieutenant Governor. It shows the biggest issues out there are what you just talked about, affordability, right? Property taxes and ethics in government. So what do you hear about those issues from voters?
Well, again, I focus for the task at hand, affordability, going back to, my tenure as lieutenant governor, that has been one of my major focus. You hear about just the equity of it all throughout our state, because we want our residents to be on the same common plane, if you will. And that's why, I'm proud to be a co-chair of the Wealth Disparity Task Force.
Mm-hmm. What would you say as you come to the end of your term now as lieutenant governor, something that you are most proud of and something that you hope that maybe wasn't fully completed that the next administration will take on?
Well, it's been a true blessing being part of the Murphy administration, making sure, that you meet the constituents where they are. I am a parent of 4 girls, and for me, one of the most significant bodies of work that I've done in terms of our kids is the protection of their mental health. I was proud to sign and strengthen the Madison-Holleran Suicide Prevention Act, Dan. That makes certain that our colleges and our universities train staff annually, raise student awareness, and expand access to resources. Again, it's been a pride and a privilege to serve the 9.5 million residents, and I just thank them, right, for opening the doors to us in this administration.
As you mentioned, you do serve 2 roles, right? You talked about the phones. So do you recommend that the next lieutenant governor do the same, that they take on more than one responsibility?
Well, by constitution, the lieutenant governor has to oversee a department or agency. And, you have to balance things out. But I know in terms of my portfolio, Secretary of State, that paved the way for, me to accomplish good things with Lieutenant Governor, given my Department of State is forward-facing as Secretary of State. There are, the focus there in the Department of State on vitality issues, dealing with economics, dealing with culture, and of course, dealing with civics. So it's been a perfect marriage, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, have you endorsed anybody in the upcoming race?
Well, something, speaking of Secretary of State, I'm appointed in that regard, and you must be nonpartisan.
Ah, gotcha.
As I oversee the elections.
Right, that's very true. That's the dual role, right?
Exactly. So if anything that I'm endorsing is just making sure that my team and I, in partnership with all of our election partners, Homeland Security, Attorney General's office, state police, that, we keep doing what we do with our local election officials 24/7, 365 days in the year.
Yeah, Lieutenant Governor, we are hosting the debate. And so if you are a candidate on the stage for Lieutenant Governor and you're presenting a case, what's your advice to the 2 candidates on the debate stage?
Well, without, any endorsement, again, I wish both of the candidates well, again, just to be authentic. That's, what our New Jersey constituents, residents, electorate are seeking. And just meet them where they are, understand their needs, and, how you can reflect those needs within your position.
Lieutenant Governor Tahesa Way, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being back here.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Good to see you. All right, everybody, and from one race in New Jersey to another, one of the biggest local races in town, the race for Jersey City mayor. A former governor making his return to local politics, Jim McGreevey. Remember that name? Joining me next, PIX on Politics, back in just 2 minutes.
You're watching PIX on Politics with Dan Manarino.
And welcome back to PIX on Politics, everybody. New York City, not the only mayoral race with a former governor on the ballot. Former New Jersey Governor Jim McGreevey making a return to local politics in the race for Jersey City mayor. The seat opened this year after current mayor Steve Fulop opted to focus on his race for governor. Jim McGreevey joining me now, so good to see you, sir. Welcome back to PIX on Politics.
Dan, good to be with you.
So here we are, right? We're 40 days away. You announced your candidacy for mayor nearly a year ago. It's a tight race. So what do you think that is about it being so tight? And what's your message in that final home stretch?
I think, Dan, what I try to do is just focus on the issues of concern to Jersey City families. I mean, you know, Jersey City budget is $700 million. The school board budget is $1.1 billion with a B. I mean, I think folks are concerned about property taxes. They're concerned about whether it's property taxes, whether it's rents, and the impact. I think they're concerned about affordability, the quality of schools, safe and clean streets, public safety, the importance of community policing, and candidly, e-bikes. You can get run over in Jersey City by an e-bike who's on his way to a delivery. So, I mean, it's just, if you will, Dan, it's the sort of the nuts and bolts issues, the bread and what I call the bread and butter issues.
Yeah, the kitchen table issues, right?
Yeah, that impact the quality of folks' lives. And so, you know, having done this before, it's focusing in on what's important to working class families.
Right, so you know better than anybody that property taxes are such a hot button issue. They went up during Steve Fulop's term, he says, to keep up with inflation. But a lot has to do with the school funding. And to a regular New Jersey resident, it's complex, right? So, and you know the process because you used to be governor, and it's a mayor that controls a lot of the property taxes. Can you guarantee that after a 4-year term that property taxes will not be higher under a McGreevey administration?
No, you can't. Nobody can guarantee that because there are unforeseen debacles that you couldn't predict. I mean, one of the things that concerns me is in terms of infrastructure, sewage, that we have 220 miles of sewer and water in Jersey City. And what concerns me is, frankly, that you have certain parts of the city where demand has increased by 40%, but capacity hasn't increased. So when you're looking at sewers and water, you have the prospect that's going to cost upwards of $2.6 billion. But I can say this, though, Dan, I'm going to be religious to make sure that we live within our means. My goal is to control property taxes, if not long-term, begin to level out property taxes in Jersey City. So I'm inextricably committed to cutting, to living within our means, and to being fiscally prudent. That's my drive. But if there's an unforeseen emergency, I think it would be irresponsible to make a broad-based pledge.
Yeah, I mean, and that's for property taxes, but overall, 70% of Jersey City residents actually rent, and rather than own their homes.
Me.
Okay, and the rent, as you know, as Jimmy McMillan once said in New York City, too damn high. So how do you plan to address that and level out or make changes to rents? Can you?
Well, I mean, part of it is that this municipal government itself has to live within its means. You can't have municipal government and keep going up and up and up in cost, and obviously through algorithms, that's passed on to renters. The second thing is you have to provide affordability in terms of renters, whether it's for senior citizens, whether it's for the local cop or fireman or teacher, workforce housing. Affordability is so critically important. And so what I want to do is I want to work with our faith-based community, candidly, that has a significant amount of land in Jersey City, whether it's our churches or temples or mosques, and partner with them and provide for upzoning so that whether it's senior citizen housing, affordable housing, workforce housing, we provide moral alternatives to affordable housing. That has to happen.
Okay.
And the other area that we have to be concerned about is bringing more businesses to Jersey City. Jersey City's only business can't be building market rate housing. And by the way, Dan, one of my concerns is who's working on those jobs. I don't see Jersey City young men. I don't see Jersey City women building on those jobs. I want to see Jersey City folks working on Jersey City projects. I just want to be the Jersey City mayor, making sure that the quality of life for every Jersey City family is improved. And that's what I did as Mayor of Woodbridge. God willing, that's what I did in the state legislature. I want to be that bread and butter guy that improves safety and quality of our streets, clean streets, community safety, and the quality of our schools.
So I recently had one of your fellow candidates on the show, City Councilmember James Solomon, who said that you were courting Trump voters, taking donations from the same people who donate to the president. Do you have a response to it?
Yeah, I mean, like, we send out solicitations, and whoever contributes, I say thank you, and I don't look to their background. I don't look to their voting history. I would suggest few elected officials do.
So obviously it's a very tight race right here. We're in the middle of...
I actually think we're doing pretty well, and I would push back on that narrative.
Well, I was going to say a tight race for governor of New Jersey.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
That's okay.
No, but in terms of the mayoralty, I think, we've walked door to door. We've walked throughout the entirety of the city twice, literally knocking on doors. I've held coffee hours in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. I've had meetings at night, greet and meets. And so I think this has been very much of an old-fashioned campaign. And I think people want what they want from a mayor is somebody who's going to be responsive to their needs. When they call City Hall, they get a call back. They get that concern addressed. And so the issues that you raised on property taxes, on education. Let me just say on education, only 10% of the children in 8th grade in Jersey City can pass a 8th grade math test. Only 39% of the children in 3rd grade can read at 3rd grade reading levels. Dan, that means 60% of the children, 60% of the children in 3rd grade can't read at 3rd grade reading levels. That is such an indictment of the quality of our school education. So I want to be that mayor that rolls up his sleeves, get involved in education.
Okay.
And you know what I do with my day job. I work with guys coming out of prison and jail and veterans and addiction.
I got to squeeze in 2 more questions here while I have you. We're almost out of time. And one of them is about the race for governor, and it's a tight race, and that's what I was getting at. If it goes in the direction of Jack Ciattarelli, it could put you at odds in terms of immigration and Jersey City being a sanctuary city. How would you battle that?
Well, I mean, one, I don't want to predict what's going to happen in the gubernatorial election, so we'll see on Election Day, and I'll wait until that time.
Okay, over in New York City, somebody you'd have to work very closely with could potentially be the mayor of New York City. Do you support and endorse Democrat Zoran Mamdani?
No, I'm focused on New Jersey, New Jersey, New Jersey. And actually, I'm not even focused on New Jersey. I'm focused on Jersey City. I want to be a good Jersey City mayor. I want to fight for Jersey City families. I want to do what's right by them. The days of being focused on global or national or state politics for me is over. I want to be the best mayor for Jersey City families, period.
Got it. Jim McGreevey, good to see you once again.
Thank you.
Come on back soon, okay? And up next, everybody, good to see you. Another week on the New York City campaign trail with no shortage of major headlines, including accusations of bribery. Henry Rossoff here next with a big election update in the race for mayor. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, less than a month to go until early voting begins. And I think it's safe to say we are in the home stretch of the election, so to speak. And there's no shortage of headlines and controversies in the race for New York City mayor. You miss a minute, you miss a lot. Henry Rossoff on the campaign trail with the candidates from day one. He joins me now. It got a whole lot more interesting this week. Curtis Sliwa making accusations, Henry, of bribery in the race, saying that millionaires that he claims are tied to Andrew Cuomo are offering him some kind of money to bow out of the race.
Yeah, at least 7 millionaires and billionaires, that's the accusation at least, have reached out to him privately to say, here's multi-million-dollar offers for you to drop out of the race and begin coalescing behind Andrew Cuomo. He pointed the finger squarely at Cuomo but would not name names. What he said was, I'm going to say this publicly. I'm going to start recording phone calls and naming names. Stop calling me. I'm not dropping out of this race. Cuomo's campaign very quickly denied this. They called Curtis Sliwa a liar. They pointed to old reporting from the New York Times, among others, of him faking crimes. Adams denied that he was getting these similar calls, even though Sliwa speculated that he was, and said Sliwa was living in a, quote, fantasy land. And none of this really helping consolidate the field against Mamdani, which is generally the goal of others running against him, because Mamdani's still polling in the 40s. No one else is breaking like 25.
Yeah, and Curtis Sliwa said, I'm absolutely not dropping out of the race. And I believe it's looking seemingly unlikely that this will come down to a two-man race now. But somebody missing from the campaign trail this week was Eric Adams.
Yeah, he took a number of days off the campaign trail. His mayoral public schedule was also pretty light. And then he came back sort of raging about not having enough money and not being able to fundraise. This is an old claim that he has made very recently, saying that, again, blaming Cuomo for undercutting his funding and fundraising behind the scenes by telling people he's not taking this race seriously, even though he says he is. But there was a prolonged period of time within the last week or so where he was MIA from the campaign trail. So it once again kicked up those rumors he was dropping out.
Yeah, I mean, he flat out said last week on the air, I'm not dropping out, stop answering the question. Stop asking me the question. You won't let me. If I said, can we put it to bed? He was like, well, you won't let me sleep if I answer the question. But it seems like he could have just answered the question. But anyway, let me squeeze in one more thing about New Jersey. Big accusations for the Cheryl campaign that her unredacted military record was actually shared by the Trump administration with a Chitterelli operative. Chitterelli's campaign is saying that didn't happen.
Yeah, so a lot of finger pointing here, a lot to unravel, so let me do the best that I can. So there was a story that broke that Cheryl, the congresswoman who graduated from the Naval Academy, was not allowed to walk with her graduation class because of a cheating scandal. Not that she is accused of cheating, but she is accused of not reporting on other naval cadets that did cheat, which is a big deal when it comes to your military service academies. That's old, that's in the public record, but it's also, of course, in her file. Well, how did those files came out? Well, Cheryl says that a top operative for Chitterelli obtained them and that the Trump administration, through the National Archives, released more than they should and may have violated the law. And she's saying this is an example of Trump coordinating with Chitterelli to beat her. So the politics are at play here, and then there's this underlying old accusation against Cheryl.
Yeah, okay. To be continued on that front. We have a big week next week. We'll talk about that right after a break. We'll be right back. Don't forget, next week, we're kicking things off with debate night in New Jersey. Dale Caldwell versus James Gannon, Tuesday night, September 30th, 7 p.m., hosted by myself and Henry Rossoff. We will see you there for that important program. In the meantime, I'll see you next time. Have a good day.